This is a can't miss episode. Imagine this, mortgage loan originators. You're generating over 100 leads a month and not one is coming from a real estate agent. This sounds like heaven. This is exactly what today's special guest has been able to do, and he's been doing it for over the past 20 years, and he feeds his entire team with these leads. This is a story, this is a man, this is a top producer that you're gonna wanna learn from. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. We are recording this in person, Chicago, Illinois, WGN Radio. This guy is the host of Home Sweet Home Chicago every Saturday morning on WGN Radio. He is a top producing originator in the mortgage space. He is my friend, David Hochberg. Hoch, welcome to the Loan Officer Podcast.
Honored to be here, bud.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. This is like 9 months in the making. You and I met for the first time 9 months ago, and the first thing you said to me is, hey, I heard you podcast. I know a thing or two about that myself. And I was like, yeah, tell me more.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I've been on WGN Radio for the past, 5 years now on WGN?
5 years, 20 years in Chicago radio.
20 years Chicago radio, but your profession is?
I'm a mortgage professional. That's what I do full time. I'm a part-time radio personality on Saturdays for 3 hours, and I make random appearances, regular appearances, I should say, on a bunch of different radio stations in Chicago, giving mortgage, credit, and housing advice.
And from what I hear from talking to your team, it's hard for you to go out without somebody yelling at you, Hochberg,
Yeah, my
Dave.
wife. Yeah, my wife hates it, especially when we go to restaurants and they see Hochberg, for 2 or party for 5 when we go out with the kids, and I give them the credit card, and they go, "Are you?" I go, "Yeah, WGN on Saturdays," and yep, that's me. Like, "Oh, I hear you on the radio or on sports radio, The Score, or you're great. You help my mom out. You help my sister out. My mom tells me to call you." So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I can see where it's kind of cool. My wife, I'm nowhere near Hochberg level at this standpoint, right? I still have another 15 years to go. But a promise I had to make to my wife was Facebook.
Yeah.
I told my wife that I would pare my Facebook account down to just people that I actually knew, because it was our one way of sharing our memories together. Because she told me, she's like, I didn't sign up to travel the country speaking, and
Right.
I didn't sign up for a YouTube channel. So I can somewhat, nowhere near your level, but see where your wife's coming from. So this is going to be fun today. I want to do a deep dive into I almost said the legend of Dave Hochberg, but for a legend, that means you would have been like a has-been, and you're a current real deal. So how about just the adventure of David Hochberg, how you got to where you're at, the lessons you've learned, and maybe some key takeaways that the audience, when they tune in, can figure out, well, there's a pattern here. How can I pick up what Dave's putting down, follow that pattern? Maybe they won't emulate you, but there's going to be some things that you've done that they can learn from. But before we jump into it, a quick word from our sponsors. What's the number one value in business coaching in all of America? Well, simply put, it's TLOP's Originator Coaching. If you want more information about how TLOP can invest in your future success, go to our website, tloponline.com. That's TLOPonline.com. Click the link for our coaching session. See all of our products that we offer. And if you have questions or you want to have a one-on-one with one of our TLOP team members, go ahead and book your free 20 minutes with us and let one of the TLOP team members help you decide which of our business coaching and sales training would work perfect for you. And we're back. Where do you want to get started on this journey? Do you want to go back 25 years ago? In fact, I'm going to go back 25 years ago. What was it that got you into the mortgage industry?
It was around August of 2000. I was in the scrap iron and metal industry. I'd be in and out of foundries, scrap yards, bringing raw materials to steel mills. That's what I did. So
was that a sales job?
Yeah, it was a sales job.
Okay.
So I'd go into scrap yards and broker material into foundries and into steel mills to melt down raw materials to make new steel and to make new whatever the foundry was making. And around in 2000, the economy was very bad. we were charging people at that time to pick up their material, pulling $300 for every pull instead of giving them money to pick up their scrap because there was just no market for it. I was at Tuscany Restaurant in Wheeling, Illinois, and one of my good friends, Brian Fishman, who got out of the business, who got in the business right out of college. And, hey, Brian, I haven't seen you. We lived around the corner from each other. And we just happened to be at the same restaurant. What's up, Fish? How you doing? Hey, Hawk, how you doing? Hey, you know, let's get together. Great. Okay, we both leave at the same time. Here comes my Bonneville SLE because I needed to drive an American car into steel mills and foundries. And here's Brian right behind me at the valet with the Mercedes 500, whatever the hell he was doing. And I'm just like, I'm going to call you tomorrow, Brian, and we're going to talk, right? So I called him up. He told me about, you know, what the industry was all about. He's like, listen, man, you're living downtown Chicago. I'm up here in Deerfield. I can't train you. You'd be great at this. Go to the guy that did your loan. He'll train you, which I did. I went to Stuart Urkoff at the time, and I went into Stewie. He gave me an opportunity in August. Quit the scrap industry, 12 years. I was making six figures, had a company car, an expense report. It was great, right? An expense account, I should say.
Yes.
So it was great. I went from that, probably $150,000 package to 100% commission with no safety net. Oh, by the way, I was engaged, okay? So I came home with my box and my stuff, and my wife goes, and fiance at the time now, my wife goes, what are you doing home? I go, yeah, I just quit. She's like, you know, we're getting married in about 6 weeks. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. So I started doing it. August to the end of the year, I made 15 grand. The following year, I made 150 grand.
Wow.
Then the following year after that, I made 250 grand. And then, you know, it was hunting elephants, right? It was you ate what you killed, and you know, in the scrap industry, my name wasn't on the trucks and on the door and on the windows or on the business cards. So I was only going to be limited to what I could make there. Great guys. I had no problem with it, but I was capped. In the mortgage industry, you ate what you killed, and you know, if you killed a lot, you just got more freezers to pack it in, and that's what I did. I got a taste, and I just got the high of closing loans, and just started meeting people. One thing led to the other. I'm closing 15 loans a month my first year. I'm making a ton of money. I'm like, this is great. And then that was it. We're off to the races. Met a bunch of different people, and yeah.
You were that young guy that I say what I look for even today hiring, right?
Yeah.
Like you and I are in hiring positions within our corporation, within our own companies.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm looking to hire somebody, I have to be selective. But you look for people that have high ceilings and a full tank of gas.
And a motor.
Yeah, and a motor.
Right.
You had a motor, you had a full tank of gas, but when you were in the scrap metal working for somebody else, they had an imposed low ceiling for you.
Well, yeah. There's only so much money you were going to make. There are only so many steel mills, only so many foundries, and there's only so many places that you could go to sell your material or buy material from. That was it, right? I'd put on 50,000 miles on my car a year, put on another 20,000 miles on a rental car a year. I'd fly all over, go down to Nucor Steel and down in Arkansas. I'd be all over the place. And I loved it. It was great. You want to see something cool? Go look at making steel. It's the most fascinating thing on this planet if you've never seen it up close. I was right there on the side of the furnace making friends with the melt shop superintendent, the scrap inspectors, all the purchasing managers, all that stuff. So that led into my sales technique, right, where Randy Jones, Acme Steel, Riverdale, Illinois, stood next to an open hearth furnace, and he said, son, I don't give a shit what it costs going in the top of the furnace. I care what it costs per ton coming out of the bottom of the furnace. That's where it's not about the rate, it's about the payment. Okay, that's where that came from. That's what I've said maybe 14 million times in the past 25 years. That's where that came from. Randy Jones, good old boy from Kentucky. He's like, son, I don't give a shit what it goes in the top. It's what comes out the bottom. And that's it. So I put listeners on the radio that call me into rates a full point above the market, right? If the market's at 6, we're putting them at 7. When the market's at 7, we're putting them in at 8 to pay off all their debt, because I'm not selling the rate. I sell the savings. Yep. I sell the benefit to the borrower. I sell the benefit to the borrower and their family. And I sell the stress that we're taking off and the recovery of their credit. That's the way I was taught how to sell, and that's how I've kept it from the scrap industry into the mortgage industry for the past 35 years.
Let's tap into you learning this industry. Go back to 25 years ago.
Yeah.
You're with Stewie, and Stewie's going to teach you the industry.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because we all tend to have a really cool war story when it comes to how'd you learn it. How'd you learn this industry?
I made friends with the reps because back then,
Okay.
Ohio Savings was big. Okay. And
Did you know Kevin Allen at Ohio Savings by any chance?
No.
Okay.
And that I've got
Good
a bad memory.
buddy of mine.
So Ohio Savings was one of our biggest lenders. ABN
Okay.
AMRO back in the day was one of our, and we had Chase would come through, Kathy Healy would come through. She held my hand and taught me everything about home equity line of credits and home equity loans. And every time a rep came through, I'd sit with them and I'd pepper them with questions. And I'd be on hold with Ohio Savings, and Ohio Savings would tell you about their products while you were waiting on hold. I'm like, wow, we could do a 5-year arm and come in behind it with another 5-year arm, and I could do that. And then GMAC, right? Rob Rosenberg, another great rep, he taught me a ton. We were making more money doing HELOCs with GMAC in the day than we were on the first loan. So we would do the first loan at par and make like 5, 6, 8 grand on the back. You know, we were doing 2-1 buy downs with home side, I think at the time. I think it was home something, Denise Lynn, another name. Okay, we were doing 2-1 buy downs, and she taught me about that 25 years ago.
So on the job training.
On the job training.
On the job training.
And I was a sponge, dude. I wanted to learn.
Yeah, I coach loan officers through T-Lop's originator coaching platform.
Yeah.
And I tell them straight up, when you come coach with me, your job is to get a lead. Period. End of story. Your job is to get a lead. If you go get a lead, you can figure out the loan business.
Amen.
But you got to get the lead first. So you and I got the lead. Then you figured out the loan business. Today, our broker friends, like, yeah, you have your AEs. Your AEs are a phenomenal resource. United Wholesale does a great job of supporting the broker community from an education standpoint. On our end, we're more retail. MI reps. I tell loan officers all the time, leverage your MI reps to try to learn the technical aspect. Now, your branch manager should be coaching you, or you should be finding sales and business coaching on your own. But the technical training, back when you were learning it, you learned it from your reps.
Yep.
And today, same thing. Learn it from your AE, learn it from your title rep. They're great resources. So at what point did you say, the traditional lender is typically going after realtors, builders, and financial advisors?
Yep.
Did you try that initially when you were launching your business, or have you always been a little bit creative with how you go maybe against the grain to get your name out, build your personal brand, et cetera?
I always went the other direction. Listen, everybody's calling on the same realtors. Everybody's calling on the same financial planners, and it was tough to get in. So I went to fire stations and police stations, and I put up flyers.
No way.
Yeah. And I said, if I do a loan for a shift, because there's 3 shifts at fire, I could tell you all about firehouses, right? I got to know everything, 24 hours on, 48 hours off. And they're black, yellow, and red, or white, green, or whatever the hell they are, right? And I'm like, if I do a loan for 1 shift, I'll make stakes for all 3 shifts. So I started doing loans for firefighters. Rates dropped. I was able to get some loans done. Then I got to know chiefs, and chiefs like, hey, why don't you call my buddy over in this town, And then I started getting referrals, and I started making stakes for all these firehouses, right? I'd go to the grocery store, get skirt steaks. I'd bring them to the house, and I'd be outside on the barbecue. I'd be barbecuing, then we'd come in and I'd be in front of 15 guys a night, right? That were on different shifts.
And good for you for going for a skirt steak and not the.
Well, I'm not dumb, right? I don't have that much
T-bones.
money, right? I just went for the skirt. I'd be out there for 5 minutes aside, boom, bring it in. They had all the fixings. I just got to know them. I didn't sell, right? It was like, hey guys, what do you got, right? What type of challenges are you having? It's not like, hey, what type of loan do you have? What's your rate? No, it's like, that's the challenge, right? You want to sell, and my sales pitch has always been the information, right? Hey, what do you guys got going on? You have any kids? Great. How's it going? You got any credit card debt? Which the answer is yes. Okay. What do they play? They play any sports? Yeah, travel hockey. Oh, fuck, there's 20 grand a year. Okay. So, if you hear travel anything, you got a prospect on the hook because they're dumping money like crazy on their kids. And so I just got to know all these guys. And the thing with firefighters and police officers, they bounce around to different stations. When they start going up in rank, they get opportunities in other towns to run other fire stations, other fire departments, and other police departments. I know pretty much most of the chiefs in Illinois here just because I've done all their loans.
Is that still a big part of your business?
Sure.
20 years later,
100%.
So 20 years later, your past client database is chock full
100%.
of cops and firefighters.
I host a podcast, Behind the Badge Illinois, with the Illinois Chiefs of Police, Illinois State Chiefs of Police, the ILACP. And I have chiefs on every other week. We cut it back to every other week because it was tough doing every week. You know that. So every other week, I've got 3 police chiefs. I'm friends with 10 or 15 rotating chiefs that come through, right? And when there's somebody on their staff needs a mortgage, they're sending them to me, right? Hey, you call Hochberg, he's a good guy, boom, and then away we went.
I love hearing this, and this is my first time learning this side of Dave Hochberg's story, because I coach, be your local community expert.
100%.
Be the source of information.
Yep.
Like that still works in 2025 the same way it worked in 2005.
And it'll work in 2027. It'll work in 2047.
Yep. So let's jump into radio.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you are Home Sweet Home Chicago, WGN, which for those that don't know, like WGN is one of the most iconic radio stations in the world.
Legacy station, 100-year-old.
Yeah, legacy station, 100-year-old. But I mean, they have WGN TV, they have WGN radio. If you're watching Chicago sports, it's probably broadcast on WGN, right? Like that's how I was a Cubs fan growing up in Orlando, Florida, is because we got to watch the Cubbies on WGN.
They're broadcasting the Blackhawks game right now. Right?
Yes.
In Ottawa is going on right now. My friend John Weideman and Troy Murray are broadcasting the Blackhawks game in Ottawa right now, and that's what they're playing.
So what drew you to radio?
It was just an opportunity. I saw so back in 2004, there were a couple other mortgage professionals on the radio who I really didn't have any type of respect for, just the way that they did business. And I called him out on it, and I would call into their show, and the guy didn't have any balls, and he wouldn't bring me on the air, even though I called him, and I'm like, hey, Joe, you're screwing people, right? You're putting them into option arms with 3-year hard prepayment penalties, and you're selling them condos down in Florida. Okay.
And by the way, for those that don't know, because maybe you weren't even born in 2005, let's walk you through that. Toxic subprime loans. That's what you have to understand. Toxic subprime loans.
Right.
Keep going.
So, there's a guy in Chicago radio, and I knew I could do it right because I knew that he was doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. And I called, I started advertising on, the crazy thing is, I became friends with a couple of realtors, and they call me out of the blue one day, and they're like, hey, we're in the back of a limo with Mo Driver, a guy by the name of Scott McKay. So back in the day, it was Howard Stern, Kevin Matthews, Steve Dahl. So Howard Stern, everybody knows Howard Stern. Kevin Matthews, Steve Dahl in Chicago were gigantic. So when you went in your car and turned the radio on, you started with Howard Stern, you never changed the station, and you pulled in the garage with Steve Dahl. Okay, and a lot of truck drivers, a lot of blue collar, white collar,
Union
professionals.
guys, yeah.
Union guys. It was a cross section, 24 to 54, all different type of demographics, and that was the main station. So they're like, hey, we're in the back of a limo with Mo Driver. We're going to a live remote in Joliet, which is about 60 miles outside of Chicago. And we're in the back of a limo. We're going to sell Mo Driver a house. You're going to get him a mortgage. I'm like, there's no way you two drunken stone slobs are in the back of a limo with Mo Driver. I thought they were like stoned, screwing around. I'm like, let me talk to Mo Driver. And he picks up the phone. Hey, buddy. Now, I've been listening to, I know the voice. I'm like, holy Christ, these guys are in the back of a limo with Mo Driver. Turns out Scott McKay was, is his real name. He's still on radio here in Chicago in the Western Burbs. Long story short, got him. He's like, you'll never get me a loan. I'm like, listen, dude, challenge accepted. This is 2002, 2003. Challenge accepted. I'm 3 years in. I said, I get you a loan, you get me on the radio. He's like, deal. Never thinking I'd get his loan done. We got his loan done. Closed on a Friday. He's moving in on a Saturday. I show up with two gigantic bags of groceries with staples, right? Cleaning supplies, milk, eggs, cereal. He had a kid, all the stuff. Two $100 gift cards at Maggiano's at Old Orchard Shopping Center in Skokie. I'm like, hey, let's see the house. Great. Okay, here's your groceries. Here's for dinner for tonight with you, Brooke, and the kid. When am I getting on the radio? He's like, deal. Why don't you come over? Whatever night, whatever. So I said, okay. So we go there. Forward my phone. Back in the day, Blackberries, right? So I had the blue Blackberry. And back in that day, you couldn't get reception in tall buildings in downtown Chicago because the technology wasn't up to speed, forward my office phone to my cell phone, parked in the Prudential Plaza. It was like a bunker down there, 8 layers deep. And I went up, and he's like, all right, kid, here's the deal. The show's going to start at 7. I'm going to get us going in the A block. I'll introduce you, bring you on the B block. If you're good, we'll keep going. If you suck, I'm blowing you out, and I paid you back. It's a deal. Okay? I mean, what do I got to lose? Can't fall off the floor. Yeah. So he brings me on at 7:15. There were 12 lines into the studio. We started talking. Phone lines started lighting up. I started answering questions, not selling anything. Never gave my phone number out once in the 45 minutes until the end. Answering questions. Boom, here's what you do, here's what you do, here's what you do. Just giving advice. Solving people's challenges, right?
And this wasn't his normal format, or was this his normal format?
It was
This was him repaying a favor.
Yeah. He's like, okay, the kid got me a loan. I got to make right.
Yep.
Right. So I'm like, are we good? He's like, yeah, let's keep going. This is great. I'm like, okay. I'm like, are we good? He's like, you want me to leave? He's like, no, let's keep going. This is great. We got calls. He's like, calls at this time of the night. Let's keep going. I'm like, all right. So we're after 45 minutes. I was on for 45 minutes, which is crazy. No radio training whatsoever, just answering people. He's like, well, why don't you give out your phone number? Didn't give out my phone number the entire 45 minutes. And there was no websites back then, right? So he's like, why don't you give out your phone number? And I think I said, I can? Is that okay? He's like, yeah. Gave out my phone number, okay? Get down to the basement, pull out onto Lower Wacker Drive. I get a signal. Phone blows up. There's over 25 voicemails.
Wow.
MS, okay?
Yeah.
So all the way home from Prudential Building downtown Chicago to my home in Northbrook, Illinois, it's about
an hour.
It's about 25 miles at that time of night. It's a half hour.
Yeah.
I'm pounding, right? I'm dialing for dollars, right? So I'm just like, hey, I've got this. Okay, I'll call you in the morning. What do you got? I got this. I'll call you in the morning. Loan reps are calling me. Hey, we want to come in, and New Century calls me, right? I forgot her name. Hey, I want to stop by your office tomorrow. We've got some products. I'm like, all right, yeah, great. Here's where we're located, okay? So literally 24 out of the 25 calls were leads. One was a loan rep, which I respected that, right? And I'm like, okay, it's like Jeb, shooting at the whatever, and up comes oil.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got something here, right? Never wrote a commercial before, started writing commercials. Never recorded a commercial, started recording commercials. Now I write commercials in my sleep. I record it. So things were rolling. I got it from zero advertising to $450,000 a year. We were doing $35,000 to $40,000 a month in advertising.
And advertised revenue that was coming into the station.
That I was investing at WCKG.
Okay.
To have ads, and I was sponsoring events. I was meeting their listeners, because back then that was subprime. We could do 7 out of the 10 loans coming in. So you'd have to really have a challenge, like be really a disaster for us not to be able to get you a loan. So, and then we used those loans to repair credit and get people's wheels back on the tracks, and then we take it to an expanded approval 4, then 3, then 2, when we could do all that stuff, then FHA.
Good old EA3.
EA3s, EA4s, those are great, but we were helping people.
Yeah.
I wasn't putting people into prepaids. I was doing it to get them from dead body on the side of the road to resuscitate to get them back.
Yeah.
That's what I use those products
Now,
for.
in the very beginning, though, you had to pay to be on radio. Like the Shock Jock DJ gave you the hookup, right? He returned the favor. That wet your whistle. That showed you what could be.
100%.
But it wasn't like they invited you in the next week, like, oh, Dave,
No.
you have your own show. Go knock it out of the park. You had to spend money, right?
He invited me back because...
Oh, he did?
He invited me back because he liked the content.
Okay.
His listeners loved it.
Yes.
So I'm like, all right, you want me to come back? I'll come back. He had a weekend show. I do an hour on his show on the weekend. I wasn't paying for it. So then I'm like, all of a sudden all this money's coming in. I think we had 5 or 8 loan officers, whatever it was. They're all making money because I couldn't handle all the leads at the time. So, it came in, it would go out, and my loan officers that we had working with us at the time would call the borrowers back, try to get the lead done and close the loan. Everybody's making money. It's great. Then I hear this guy on the radio who I think's a piece of crap. His name rhymes with Joe Aldiger. I never liked him. I still don't like him. And he had a show, and I'm like, I could do what Joe's doing, but do it better. So I bought time, because that's what you do, right? You buy an hour, and an hour at the time was $2,000 an hour, okay? And I'm like, all right, let's go. right? I'm like, I'm making enough money to cover it. I need one loan to cover the hour. Fine, let's go. So I went in. I'm like, I don't want to compete with the Bears, okay, because it's a Chicago Bear town. Bears started, it was Lovie Smith's first season. The Bears started 0-4. I'm like, all right, the Bears suck. Let's go. So I bought 10 weeks. I invested 10 weeks, signed a contract.
All on Sundays.
All on Sundays,
Okay.
9 to 10. And I'd bring in single-spaced 2-3 pages, typed out notes. I'd bring in somebody with me. I'd be shaking because I was so nervous. And phone started ringing the 6th week. They started ringing from
Sixth
listeners.
week.
6th
So
week.
that means 5 weeks.
It was just me and somebody else like this. We're
Yes.
just talking.
Yeah.
Right? Just shooting the breeze here and praying to God we get through the 43 minutes of content without passing out or crapping my pants, right? And by the 6th week, callers, the phone started lighting up with real callers, not set up calls. So I'm like, this is awesome. We didn't have a text line back then. And then more calls came in. Then after the first 10 weeks, I'm like, all right, we got something here. We covered the nut of the first 10 weeks. Let's go another 10 weeks. So we did another hour. So we did 1 hour. It then became so successful, I didn't have to come in with anything, right? We just started freewheeling it. And I'd have a credit guy come in. I had a couple of realtors come in. I had a real estate attorney. I had a commercial guy come in. I had my partners that came in with me, so we had something to talk about and went back and forth. And that's still kind of like the way the show is today. So long story short, it grew into 1 hour to 2 hours to 3 hours. We went from Sunday to Saturday. WCKG, which was the station at the time, changed formats, so we had to move it to AM 560, which was a Salem station. I was still paying for the time there. Was there for 8 years paying for the time. And then I got a break to bring it to WLS, where they took it over. It went from the Townstone Financial Show, which is the company that I used to own, and it became Home Sweet Home Chicago. And Home Sweet Home Chicago, WLS owned it. And WLS went out and got sponsors. And WLS handled the receivables, which is a major pain in the ass with anybody's doing shows will tell you, collecting money from people who say that they're going to pay you and then checks bounce and you're running around. I do mortgages. I'm not an accountant.
I sold TV advertising coming out of college, and one of the biggest turnoffs with selling TV advertising was I had to be a bill collector.
That's the worst.
Right? And it is the worst. And so for perspective to kind of tie it down for the audience, in the very beginning, David was spending his own money.
Yeah, investing
his own money.
Yeah.
With a strong belief there would be an ROI, but no guarantee.
Correct.
And then once that 6 week happened, the phone line started lighting up. You started getting leads. You started closing loans. You can reinvest back in, but you were still paying that station for that time. Now, you were allowed to sell some of that time, or you could. So then all of a sudden you have your own radio show. You're paying the radio station for the time to be on air, but then you can go sell some of that time back to advertisers.
Yeah, they'll let you do anything.
Yeah, but now you're in ad sales. Now you're in accounts receivable. You're in debt collection. You're in copywriting because you're having to write these commercials, plus get them produced, plus get them put into the certain spot unless it was a live read. A lot of work. So it had to almost been like a monumentous shift when the next station was like, look, we're going to let you come on for free.
Yeah.
For free.
We want you to host it.
Yeah.
And so I went from, so it was never call me, right? I think New American Funding's got a show, the rate, at least they had one in Chicago. The 30-year fixed is this, the 30-year fixed was this. They would say what the rate was.
Yeah.
Like 400 times in a 37-minute stretch, and it'll be like, this sucks. I mean, who wants to hear this? You're not giving any information, right? And then I would call to say, hey, because they're quoting a rate a half a point below the market. I'm like, hey, I just heard you say that I could get 3.25%. How could I get that? Well, you got to fill out an application. I'm like, well, that's not what you said on the radio. I just bust their balls a little bit because I had nothing else to do. Just to be a prick. So, that's what I did. And I said, I don't want my show like that. Nobody's going to listen to this. So it was always informational radio. Yeah. It's never call me for a more, not once. No. It was always like, hey, here's a challenge. Here's how we overcame this challenge. And then other people would call in with their challenge. And like, hey, I went to a bank and they said this. Is it true? And I'd be like, no, I'm like, what's the bank? And they're like, well, can I say it? I'm like, yeah. And I'd call the bank out.
Yeah.
I mean, I would absolutely call the bank out.
It's edutainment at its finest,
Yeah.
coupled with storytelling. But what's really cool is you recognize the power of your personal brand,
Yeah.
which is what we all talk about today with TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn or even YouTube, right? It's your chance to edutain.
Yep.
It's your chance to storytell. It's your chance to own your personal brand. It's really cool that it's not new, right? Dave Hochberg's been doing this for 20 years. He just chose a more traditional format with radio. So what does it look like today for you? So today, you show up at WGN Studios every Saturday at 9 a.m.?
Yeah. I mean, we meet, we have a little networking thing prior to, we all go for breakfast before. So if an expert hasn't met somebody, and we're always bringing on somebody new, breaks the ice, right? So we meet for breakfast for 45 minutes, and we walk over maybe 3 city blocks. We get here at 9:30, 9:40. You know, everybody sits down. I set up the studio like you have this here with cameras. Everybody's got a camera. I've got a green screen, so we capture all the videos, so then the experts can then take that and pump it out afterwards on their social media channels. We're on Facebook Live, so we got the 3-hour show Saturdays 10 Central to 1 live streaming on WGNDavid.com. You could find it there. Facebook Home Sweet Home Chicago if you want to check it out.
And by the way, please check it out.
Yeah, I mean,
go check it out. It doesn't suck. It's good.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We think all the numbers keep going up, and our online numbers keep going up, so we're pretty proud of that, right?
Now, is the show you and a partner, you and a producer, or it's always you and then you have a couple guests that come in?
That's a great question. So WGN supplies the producer. They supply the call screener because we get a ton of calls. Also, they print out all the texts because we have a text line, and then we get a ton of texts. So I try to burn through the texts. And here, the format of the show is we have 2 guys. Well, it's going down to 1 guy now that controls all of the cameras, switching the cameras back and forth, and capturing all that stuff. And then I host the show. I have a co-host who's a GC because I don't know how to fix anything. I am horrible. And then we have 3 other seats that we fill with a realtor, real estate attorney. We've got a roofing company. We've got an HVAC company, exterminator.
And they're just on rotation.
Rotation.
Yeah, these are partners of yours. They're on rotation.
They buy.
Okay.
They buy a package with WGN.
Okay.
Through a WGN sales team. I have nothing to do with it, and they invest in packages to be on the show to get the exclusive within their category.
Yes.
So there's one HVAC guy. There's one roofing guy. There's one company that does extermination, right? We have the Bug Lady. We have a concrete company. We have a basement waterproofing. We have a disaster company, Blue Sky Restoration. So, I mean, we have like literally 25 or 28 different companies that invest in the show. And we do round robin. We try to split them up so everybody gets to meet everybody. And it's a professional BNI networking group, if you will, kind of, on the radio. And what I say on the radio to everybody that's coming on, do not sell your product. Tell everybody the challenges that you overcame and what calls that you got the most the week before you came on. Because if you're getting 5 calls of mice in your basement, then most of the listeners have got mice in the basement. Weather's breaking here in Chicago, right? If you're having carpenter rants, right, and you're having whatever you're having, we got the Bug Lady coming on this weekend. So all of these things that have been coming as it gets warmer, right? We're coming out of the below 0 into the 40s, and things are starting to rock and roll with all that stuff. So I always tell the experts that are coming on, and for your would-be radio hosts out there, don't try to sell anything. Just give information.
Yes.
And that's what it is, right? And if you give information, it's non-threatening. And we have fun. I bust balls the entire show.
I bet.
If somebody slips up on something, we're capturing it. We make it into a rejoin, and we're having fun with it, right? Because I tell everybody, listen, we're talking real estate. If I don't make it fun and entertaining and you fall asleep and drive into an embankment, you're going to sue WGN for vehicular homicide, right? So I got to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
And that's what, I'm the smart aleck guy there, and I'm the blackjack dealer. I just keep pitching and going. So I do a mailbag segment. sponsored by one of the sponsors, by Center Guard Plumbing, great plumber, the only plumbing company I trust to touch my pipes inside my house. That's the opening, a little dig. And I go through 7 minutes of different examples of listeners that we've helped the prior week, okay? So that's what I do, and I know everybody's listening, and they're like, that's me, and yeah, you helped my mom, that's my mom. So it connects the listeners to the show, and then we go around the table. Everybody gets a segment to talk about whatever they want to talk about. And then at 11:15, we're done going through. Everybody's had their time. So from 11:30 for the next hour and a half, we're answering calls and we're answering texts, and it's coming in fast and furious.
So what does this look like for your mortgage business? Because you run Team Hochberg here in Chicago, Illinois. By the way, is Team Hochberg hiring?
Of course.
You are hiring?
Of course.
Okay, so if somebody was interested, if you're in the greater Chicagoland area and you're interested in joining Team Hochberg, just go to the website, teamhochberg.com. Is that what it is?
56david.com.
56david.com.
Yeah.
But what does it look like? You have this show now. You're generating leads. What's those leads turn into? How many units? What volume? Like, what is business going to look like for Team Hochberg in 2025?
Yeah, well, we're averaging probably 10 leads a day.
Okay.
Okay. So, on the weekend, we're probably getting 10 a weekend, right? We're not getting 10 on Saturday and Sunday. So we're probably getting, what is that?
60
a week. 60 a week,
yeah.
Right? And I try to take the HELOC ones that don't generate anything, because we have a Kane County Teachers Credit Union, which is now Consumers Credit Union. It's part of the show. So I refer all that business to them, because I don't want to do HELOCs. I don't want to charge people, right? And we sent them $10 million worth of HELOC business last year.
Yeah, they love you.
Which is pretty huge, right? And it's a good partnership. So I take those, and we get probably 6 on the weekend that need a cash out refinance or thinking of buying in the future. And then as they come in, I just round robin to my guys that are available. If I'm free, I take a couple. If we're busy and we're trying to close, we closed 15 loans for $7.2 million. Me and my partner last month, right? Was a
solid,
pretty good month, right? We haven't had one of those in a while, and we're on pace to do, I think, $9 million this month. So if everything goes okay, right?
Yeah. So that's feeding you, plus it's feeding your loan officers, because you have
that's
3 or
just
4.
me.
That's just you.
That's just me and my partner Anna right now.
Yes.
And then my the loan officers on Team Hochberg, they'll probably do another 15.
Yep.
So we'll do as a team. Probably last month, I think we did 20, a little over 20. I was 7 of that. Anna and I were 7.2. I think we'll do 25, and if everything falls into place, maybe 27, 28, the 10 loan officers that we have, which is great because we got 6 purchase contracts over the weekend, right? We have like 36 pre-approvals out, and 6 of them popped. I
love it.
Yeah, so do we.
Yes.
Right. I mean, a lot of those we have done multiple. Everybody in the industry knows what I'm talking about. We've done multiple. Hey, I need one for 123 Maple. I need one for Oak. I need one for Aspen. Finally, 6 of the 36, a sixth of them, right, finally found something, thank God. And we were talking to them all day today, all day yesterday. We locked one today, $600,000 purchase, 20% down VA loan, right? He had money. And 100% connected disabled, so he gets no real estate taxes here in Illinois, which is fantastic. So we locked that in today, a $480,000 loan, right? So that's what we're doing. And then the leads are coming in, and if I can't handle them, I've got a great team that I've trained that are there that's going to get the same service that I provided them, because I trained all my loan officers, and I know that they can handle it. And if there's something popped up, here, Steve, you were with Steve today,
yeah,
right?
I was.
So he had a divorce situation, right? Hey, there's no divorce. They're just splitting, and there's no divorce decree. How do I do that? Yeah, she's got to get money out to give to him. I'm like, it's an equity buyout. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we've done these hundreds of times.
Yes,
you just forgot. You haven't done one in a while. She's buying him out. It's an equity buyout. Get an LOX, show it to the underwriter, and you could do that as a rate and term refinance, not a cash out, so she doesn't get squashed, because she's coming out of a 299 going into probably, well, with all the tariff talk now, high 6s, low 7s, but it's an equity buyout. So that's a 30-second conversation with Steve, who you met today, who's going to be a killer. Right?
Oh, great guy.
He'll be a
great
$50 million producer probably this year, and within 3 to 4 years, he'll be a $100 million producer.
Yeah.
He's just an animal. So that's, I have a great team.
Yeah. So remind me, so we're gonna put a bow on this episode.
Yeah,
right.
go.
You and I have a ton of content because we're actually launching a sister YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And Hawk and I are collaborating on some of that initial content. So stay tuned. That'll be launched this summer of 2025. But I want to put a bow on this episode so you and I can actually get back to work.
Yeah.
Help the audience, remind them the best contact information if they ever wanted to learn more about you, your setup, connect with you. How are they going to do that?
It's real simple. Website is 56David, the number 5, the number 6, David.com. You can give us a call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We've got an answering service. It's 855-56-DAVID, which is 855-563-2843. Or you can send me an email, david@56david. And not only are we hiring here in Chicago, we're also we're also looking to bring on branches in different states, right? We just brought a branch on in Tennessee.
Yeah.
We brought one on in Virginia. We brought one on in Pennsylvania, thanks to you guys. And we're talking to a couple in Arizona and a couple in Texas and I think a couple in Georgia right now. So if you're out there and you're looking for an opportunity to join a great group, we're fair, we're honest, which is the key, and we're very, very, very open communication-wise. We're not hiding anything from anybody.
So I like to wrap up episodes. Sometimes I'm like, oh, what's your favorite book you just read? Or what's some great advice that you made sure you passed along to your children?
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you this one. What is one piece of advice that you would give to David Hochberg 25 years ago? Maybe something you learned the hard way.
Yeah.
That if you want to help shorten that guy's learning curve, what would you tell him?
Yeah, you never give up. Right? I mean, that's it. That's what I tell everybody. I tell David Hochberg 25 years ago. I tell my kids that too. Never give up. If somebody says no, all right, great. Let's go. I'm going to prove you wrong. You tell me no.
Yeah.
It's on. Right?
I love it.
You tell me no, I'm going to prove to you that I could turn that no into a yes. And if you crack that door a little bit, just a little bit, I'm going to blow that door into 4,000 pieces because I'm coming through it.
Those are words of wisdom. Wow. I have something very similar, but I couldn't say it as articulate as you just laid it out. So let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's make a promise, you and I. This won't be our last podcast episode together.
Okay.
I cannot imagine this is going to be our last piece of content that we create together. So I look forward to building on this relationship and creating content for years to come. But in the interim, let's go ahead and wrap today's show up. Let's look at the camera and tell the audience. Unfortunately for you all, that is all the time we have for you today. He is David Hochberg. I am Dustin O, and you've just tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast. If this was your first time tuning in, do yourself a favor, but do us a favor. Go to our YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe. The reason why you want to go to YouTube and subscribe is because we have additional free coaching and training on YouTube, not just podcast episodes. If you like to listen to your podcast versus watch your podcast, it's Spotify, it's Apple. Give us a 5-star review, and then understand that sharing is caring. So share it not once, not twice, but 3 times with a colleague or a friend in the industry. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode.